parks located throughout the United States and its territories. This park was founded back in 1948 to commemorate the DeSoto expedition and its impact on the Native American people. What we do out here as interpreters is we talk about different facets, different parts of the expedition to kind of expand your knowledge of what you'll find throughout the park. If you wander through the park's trails, see the movie, you'll get the entire story before you leave here. And I'm just pretty much what kind of your entrance station for most folks this time of year. What we'll talk about, of course, are different parts of this expedition. Where are you folks from?
Canada.
Canada? Excellent. And you, sir?
Georgia.
Georgia. All right. So you've actually come from some DeSoto territory. He walked right up through the center part of that state. What I'll talk a little bit about is to dispel a couple of the myths and rumors and things that have popped up or sprouted up about this expedition over the last almost 500 years of history. And that's one thing when we look back on things that have occurred many, many years ago, is that we also formulate our own opinions. We hear different things, especially from the locals or this, that, and the other. So my job is to will be to expand a little bit upon some of them. Some of the things that we'll talk about is reasons why DeSoto came here. What were the real reasons that he was here for? We'll look at some of the people on this expedition. And finally, we'll answer the big question of why is this important? Why are we here? Why are we learning about this today? So, to start off with, I'll give you a couple freebies. If you've been in and anywhere around this area and have talked to any of the locals, guess what? Sarasota is not named after DeSoto's daughter. So if you hear any blowhard down south of us go, Sarasota was named after DeSoto's daughter, you can laugh at it. Because DeSoto didn't have a daughter, and any self-respecting Spaniard is not going to name his daughter Sarah. And the other one is Anna Maria Island out there. No matter what the locals say and what plaques they put up, Anna Maria Island was not named after the Spanish queen, and it wasn't named after Ponce de Leon or Hernando de Soto, because there was no Anna Maria of Spain until 150 years after DeSoto's death. So those two myths are gone. Those are freebies. But the myth number one we're going to talk about, and it's probably the most popular myth of this park, even mentions it in our park film, is why did DeSoto come here? What was he looking for?
Gold.
Gold, exactly. How if I tell you that that was only just one little bit of it? Gold is one little portion of the matrix of what brings DeSoto here. The three things that drive any conquistador, and you have to understand what a conquistador is. It's a super soldier. These are the men that the King of Spain will look at and say, cross that uncrossable river, climb that unclimbable mountain, and conquer that unconquerable land. These are a handful of select men, and what drives them are three G's: God, glory, and then gold. DeSoto himself has more gold before he comes to Florida than pretty much any other man in Europe. When he leaves the plunder of the Inca Empire, he has 13,000 pounds of gold, silver, and gems in his personal treasury. So why does he need more gold for? He's missing things. First of all, he's missing glory. He was one of the conquerors of the Inca, but he's not the conqueror of the Inca. When you write down in history books who conquered the Inca Empire, do you mention Hernando de Soto? No, you mention Francisco Pizarro. So DeSoto's looking for glory. Also, no matter how much money DeSoto has or possesses in his coffers, he's missing one thing that even the poorest noble of Europe has: land and power. He's second-born son, so he's not going to inherit any land. So he's land poor and power poor. So he petitions the king to conquer an unconquerable land called the Great Northern Mystery, or La Florida. La Florida is vast territory. To the Spanish, it encompassed from the tip of Florida all the way up to Virginia and as far out west as Texas. That was the land that DeSoto was tasked to conquer, subdue, and colonize for Spain. What would he get in return? He would get the governorship of Cuba, which is the crown of the Spanish New World holdings, as well as right to rule and govern the land of La Florida, a territory larger than most countries in Europe. So DeSoto is going to come here. Now, where does the gold fit into the equation? Well, the gold is the most important thing, because DeSoto hears stories while he's in the court of the king. Stories that there are cities of gold located somewhere in the United States. He got these stories from a gentleman by the name of Cabeza de Vaca. De Vaca had spent 7 years wandering around the southeastern United States, walking from Texas down into Mexico City. And De Vaca had heard from the natives that he had stayed with many times that there were cities of gold located somewhere up north. So he tells Desoto this. Desoto, in his own mind, puts two and two together, and he says, cities of gold? Where was the last place I saw cities of gold at? Peru. There's got to be Inca in Florida. So when Desoto comes here, he's searching for gold, but not nuggets, not veins of ore running through rock. He's looking for rings. He's looking for masks and earrings and bracelets, processed gold. Because that processed gold, once he starts finding natives that possess that, that's going to lead him to a civilization that he can conquer, which is going to get him that G of glory. If he conquers them, then he can subdue the people and convert them. That's going to get him the G of God. And then while he's there, he can give the king 20% off of all plunder from the native people. That will get him his third G of gold. Also, if there are Inca here, the Inca also produced roads and 9 stone-built cities. And those cities and roads will give him an infrastructure that will complete the largest mission that he's supposed to do for the King of Spain, which is establish a colony for Spain somewhere in the land of La Florida. So when we say he's looking for gold, he's looking for gold in that sense. He's not going to dig it out of any mountain. He's not going to pan it out of any stream. He's going to look for it already processed. And that's going to lead us into the second part. Desoto is supposed to come here on an expedition to conquer and colonize people. So he's going to bring along a whole host of people with him to do this. It's not all just going to be soldiers. And when we think of this expedition, we think of what country is involved with this. Well, we got the flags everywhere. We think of Spain, correct? This is a country. This is an army of Spaniards. But actually, this is a multinational army because Desoto's king also has another title. His title is Holy Roman Emperor. And as the Holy Roman Emperor, he controls all the lands of Germany, Austria, Hungary. He controls more of France than the King of France does, because he's beaten the King of France in several wars before this. He controls all of northern and central Italy. And he also holds dominion over the King of Portugal, and he holds all the holdings of Spain. So when Desoto says, I will declare that I will conquer this land for you, King Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, spreads word to the four corners of his empire. And men and women come flocking to this banner because Desoto is a success. They're going to believe that they're going to come over here and find a new colony and a new way of life and get rich doing so. So, first the soldiers come flocking in. You have German Landsknecht mercenaries, Swiss mercenaries sent from the King of Switzerland. You also have French soldiers and crossbowmen. You have English longbowmen, or Welsh archers. You have also Portuguese mercenary knights, Italian mercenary soldiers, people from all over the empire. And most of the nobles of this expedition have African servants and mercenaries as well, called Moors, because Spain, up until recently, had been fighting a 780-year war with those people. Also, this expedition is not just military. It's also, because of it has to be involved with founding a colony, you have merchants like blacksmiths, carpenters, shipwrights, tailors, and hosiers. Not your Canadians, sorry. But people that makes hoses. You have also farriers and fletchers, people that make arrows. And all these type of people come here, and their job is to start that colony. They're hoping to get a new blacksmith shop set up within the New World. Tailors, hosiers are hoping to get, clothe the nobility of the New World. So their job is to come and establish this colony. And then you also have the mission of the church. Because every mission, Holy Roman mission, is going to be a Catholic mission as well. So you're going to have priests and friars. The priests are going to look after the spiritual well-being of the Europeans, and the friar's job is to translate and convert the native population to Catholicism. Then there's the women and children. Children as young as 8 to 9 years old come on this expedition. This is their education. This is their schooling to come and learn a trade. So they're going to follow all those merchants. They're going to be also the pages and squires of the nobles and the soldiers. So we had one girl as young as 10 years old on this expedition, disguises herself as a young man, and does something 3/4 of the battle-hardened soldiers couldn't do. She survives 4 years and 4,000 miles, and we know of her name as Ana Mendez. And the women that come on this expedition, they're servants of the nobility. They're also camp followers, people that are going to follow along and try to make a living off the handoffs of the merchants and the soldiers. This whole big group comes over here, and they're going to blaze a trail through the southeastern United States. And why is this important? Why do we have to remember this as part of our history? Because DeSoto's expedition does more to change the course of American history than any other expedition of its kind, before or after it. DeSoto brings in the largest group of people, between 700 to 1,000. He also brings one big game changer into the environment of the United States. He brings 400 swine. There were no pigs in North America before DeSoto. No wild or domesticated. No hogzillas or razorbacks. These were all European stock pigs. The Native Americans here had never encountered livestock before. There's only 5 domesticated animals in the North American continent before, or actually the Americas, before the Europeans. Llamas, guinea pigs, turkeys, ducks, and dogs. But none of those are livestock. So now these livestock animals are going to be let loose upon the environment. Pigs can go wild, but the natives do get a taste for pork, and some of them will keep them in their villages, but they've never come in contact with livestock, and more importantly, livestock-borne diseases. Anthrax, cholera that's produced in the runoff and waste, measles, smallpox, many other of these diseases that we think are human-borne actually transition between livestock and people, and now these diseases will sweep through the Native American population. And within 100 years, 98% of that population in the Southeast will be decimated due to these diseases. That's going to open the door for colonization by the Spanish, the French, and the British here on the eastern coast of the United States. That depleted population can no longer resist and keep out the Europeans that will come here after DeSoto. The most important thing and legacy of the DeSoto expedition will be knowledge. Something that DeSoto himself did not plan on, but knowledge that he leaves behind is knowledge of the chronicles. He believes that he needs to record this expedition for prosperity, his own. But when he dies and everything fails, those chroniclers will commit their stories. One chronicler in particular, the gentleman of Elvas, he will go back to Portugal and write his own accountings, and those accountings will be printed on a very new invention called the Gutenberg press, and it will become one of Europe's first bestsellers behind that of the Bible. And that story will spread, and it will inspire other explorers like Pedro Menendez, La Salle, and John Smith of England. And those people will come over and try to do what DeSoto couldn't: stop, exist, and colonize the United States. What we're going to do now, we're going to shift to the exciting part of this talk. We're going to talk about 2 of the weapons of this expedition. Weapon number 1 is, of course, the weapon that represents the Native American societies of the Southeast. Native Americans, this was their primary weapon of use, the bow and arrow. This weapon was a central part of their culture. Young Native American boys about the age of 8 will grow up start using this weapon. Of course, it's a weapon of hunting, hunting and fishing and playing games. Then at about the age of 16, a Native American will enter in what's called the House of the Men, and they will be expected to make their first bow out of the heartwood of ash or poplars, or even mangroves and oaks. And with those bows, they will then start to fletch their own arrows and chip their own arrow point heads. A Native American archer could draw down on a target and... Wow, I did not mean for that to happen, but he shot a pig. I meant to do that. Well, they could draw and shoot 15 times in about 30 seconds. A Native American can also adapt and use their environment, either it be thick mango jungles or that of hardwood pine forests. They would disguise their body, they could lie in wait, and when the Europeans Spanish would commit that they felt like they were being attacked by ghosts. All they would see most times were arrows flying out of nowhere. And their attackers would fade in and out of the woods. Also a Native American did also run and shoot. They can shoot on the go, disappear off into nowhere. This would keep the Spanish constantly on their toes. The Europeans would constantly have to be on guard. They would have to wear their heavy armor all the time, even in the dead heat of summer. This would exhaust them. Always being constantly on vigil and watch also stresses them out. They will not be able to sleep, even at night. The main European weapon at the time and pardon me, but I'm going to have to break time period. I'm going to have to use a lighter because I didn't put my candle in here yet. Have to light my match. Okay, well, let's go over here and light it off the fire.
It's a little better now. A little cooler. Yeah,
There we go. The main European weapon at the time, or the one that's actually garnering the most attention, will be the arquebus, the matchlock. Gunpowder, the age of gunpowder has started in Europe at this time. European armies are being outfitted. The King of Spain, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, is defeated at this time, a French army 3 times larger than his at Parva. So now all European monarchs are scrambling to add small arms into their inventory. The French were well known for their artillery, but the Spanish and the Germans will be well known for their small arms. Small arms can decimate knights on horseback. A bullet can pierce through the armored breastplate of a knight, so the age of knights on horseback are no more. In Europe, this weapon is devastating because my enemy likes to line up shoulder to shoulder as part of formal warfare, march across an open field straight at me. So my gunners, 200 to 300 strong, can sit down, lie, take aim, and fire right into the midst of them until they got close enough where I've either expended my shots or my infantry behind me will step up. The active range of this weapon is about 40 yards, meaning that within 40 yards I'll hit what I'm pointing at. Beyond that, the bullet will stray. So if I'm taking aim at this gentleman right here, more than likely I'll shoot him, or somewhere over else. But as long as you're the enemy, it doesn't really matter. But here in Native America, this weapon's got issues. First of all, no matter how polite I am to the natives, they're not going to line up and march straight at me. They're going to hide in those woods. They're going to run around. And they're going to take shots at me. They're going to fade in and out of the background. I'm not going to be able to get a bead on them. And the main problem with this weapon, not just its accuracy, is its rate of fire, which we're going to discover right now. I'm going to need some help from you folks. When I say go, I would like you all to start counting. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. And what we're going to do is time me. I'm pretty decent at this weapon. I've used it for over about 7 years now. So I've gone pretty proficient with it. So we'll see how many shots I can get off in 30 seconds. Which, as we said, how many shots can a Native American archer get off in 30 seconds? About 15. So, I got my gunpowder. I've got my match. If I have the match to the right side that I lit. There we go. And walking through the woods, not expecting too much trouble when those arrows start flying in at me. The natives are coming. Yeah! Their war cries and their war clubs. So now I have to fight. So go.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi, 11 Mississippi, 12 Mississippi, 13 Mississippi, 14 Mississippi, 15 Mississippi, 16 Mississippi, 17 Mississippi, 18 Mississippi, 19 Mississippi, 20 Mississippi, 21 Mississippi,
Make ready,
22
come here.
Mississippi,
22 Mississippi.
23.
There we go. So about 23, 24 seconds. Yeah, I'd be a pincushion pretty much. So one shot to their 15. So you can see that's the issue. But this gun, this weapon will save the expedition, but not in a way that you think. This weapon is not going to kill a mass amount of natives. DeSoto actually only sees mass combat about 3 times, and he only has the gun with him 2 out of those 3 times. So, the gun doesn't kill a bunch of Indians. How does it save the expedition? Well, at the end of this expedition, DeSoto's dead. I'm sorry to ruin the movie for you. But DeSoto has died. The men have decided to take the option to try to walk into Mexico. They get about halfway there when they decide we can't walk into Mexico. It's suicide, especially when they're looking at the Sonoran and the southwestern deserts. So they decide to march back to Arkansas. There at the banks of the Mississippi River, they cut down trees. The arquebusiers still have their guns, but they no longer have any black powder or shot. So the blacksmiths confiscate these weapons. They'll break them down, lock, stock, and barrel, and they'll melt them down and make nails. And with those nails, they'll build boats, and they'll sail out the Mississippi River on their guns, saving 311 souls and escaping the cursed land of LaFleur. Thank you very much for attending our program. Our next one's at the top of next hour, and you can enjoy the movie up at the Visitor Center. By all means, please enjoy the rest of your stay here at DeSoto.